Hello and welcome. I'm truly happy to have you here with me today. Whether you're listening at home, while walking, on your way to work, or simply taking a quiet moment for yourself, thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. I hope this episode will not only help you improve your English, but also offer something deeper, something that makes you think, feel, and grow. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but it's also very real. We're going to explore the problem with always being nice. Now, that might sound strange at first. Isn't being nice a good thing? Isn't it important to be kind, respectful, helpful, and polite? Yes, of course it is. Kindness is powerful. The world needs more of it. But there's a difference between being kind and being too nice. There's a point where trying to please everyone begins to hurt. Not just you, but your relationships, your confidence, and your sense of identity. So today, we'll explore that line. We'll talk about what it really means to always be nice, where that behavior comes from, how it affects your life, and how to build healthier boundaries while still being a good, kind, and respectful person. Let's start with a simple question. Have you ever said yes when you really wanted to say no? Have you ever smiled when something hurt? Have you ever stayed silent when you disagreed just to avoid conflict? Have you ever helped someone even though you were tired, overwhelmed, or didn't have time to think about others before ourselves? And while these are valuable lessons, something else can happen at the same time. We can start to believe our value comes from being liked. We can start to believe that being kind means never upsetting anyone. We can start to believe that our needs are less important than other people's needs. And when those beliefs take root, we don't just become kind, we become afraid. Afraid of saying no. Afraid of setting limits. Afraid of speaking up.
We become what some people call people pleasers, always trying to keep the peace, make everyone happy, and avoid rejection at all costs. But here's the truth. When you always say yes to others, you're often saying no to yourself. When you always try to make people happy, you lose touch with your own needs. And when you avoid conflict at all costs, you create an inner conflict, a quiet war between who you are and who you think you need to be. Let's take a moment to think about where this comes from. Why do so many people feel like they have to be nice all the time? Sometimes it comes from childhood. Maybe you grew up in a home where being quiet, obedient, and helpful was expected. Maybe you were told not to make a scene. Maybe you were praised for being a good boy or a sweet girl. And over time, you learned that love and approval came from pleasing others. Sometimes it comes from fear of rejection, judgment, or being misunderstood. You think, if I say what I really think, they won't like me. If I disagree, they'll leave. If I stand up for myself, they'll think I'm selfish or rude.
So you stay quiet. You nod. You agree. You carry the weight, and little by little, you lose yourself. But here's what's important to understand. Being nice is not the same as being kind. Kindness comes from strength. Kindness says, I see you, I respect you, and I also respect myself. Niceness, when it's driven by fear, says, I need you to like me, so I'll hide who I am. Think about that difference. One is powerful, the other is performative. Let's imagine a situation.
Your friend asks for a favor. You're exhausted. You have your own responsibilities. You need rest. But you say yes anyway. Why? Because you don't want them to be upset. You don't want to seem selfish. You help them, but inside, you feel drained, maybe even a little resentful. That's the problem. When you give too much, too often and for the wrong reasons, you begin to feel invisible. You start to wonder, do people really like me? Or do they just like what I do for them? This is not kindness. This is fear wearing a smile. The more you ignore your own boundaries, the harder it becomes to know what your boundaries even are. You forget how to say no. You feel guilty when you take time for yourself. You second-guess your decisions. And eventually, you feel burnt out, emotionally tired, disconnected from yourself.
But here's the beautiful truth. You can learn a new way. You can be kind and honest. You can care about others without abandoning yourself. You can say no with love, with clarity, with courage. Setting boundaries doesn't make you rude. It makes you real. Let's talk about what boundaries really are. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. They are not walls to keep people out. They are doors that help you choose who enters and how they treat you. A boundary can sound like, I'd love to help, but I need to rest tonight. I care about you, but I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not available right now, but I can do it later. I need time to think about it before I say yes. At first, this might feel uncomfortable, even scary. You may worry about how people will react. And yes, some people might not like your boundaries, especially if they're used to you always saying yes. But that's okay, because the people who truly respect you, the people who value you, not just your help, will understand. And more importantly, you will begin to understand yourself. You will feel more confident, more balanced, more alive. You'll notice that your yes becomes more meaningful because it's real. It's not forced. It comes from choice, not pressure. Let's also talk about communication. Many people pleasers struggle with being direct. They say maybe when they mean no. They smile when they want to cry. They agree when they actually disagree. But honest communication is a gift to yourself and to others. When you express your truth with respect and clarity, you create space for deeper connection. You teach people how to treat you. You stop pretending. And in that space, real trust begins. Here's something powerful to remember. You are not responsible for how others feel. You are responsible for how you communicate, for being clear, kind, and honest. But you are not responsible for other people's reactions. If someone is disappointed because you said no, that's okay. That's their emotion to manage. Your job is not to keep everyone comfortable. Your job is to stay true to yourself while treating others with compassion. It takes practice. It takes courage. It takes unlearning old habits and building new ones. But it's possible. You can begin today. Let's finish with this. Being kind is beautiful. Helping others is beautiful. But not when it costs you your voice, your energy, your peace. You don't have to be available all the time. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to carry what isn't yours to carry. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to protect your time, your energy, your heart.
Being kind doesn't mean being small. Being kind doesn't mean being silent. Being kind means being whole, showing up as your full self with love and truth together. So if you've been too nice for too long, it's okay to change. You can still be you, generous, thoughtful, warm, but now with boundaries, with balance, with a stronger sense of self. Because your kindness will shine even brighter when it comes from truth, not fear. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope this message helped you reflect, feel seen, and feel empowered. And I hope it also helped you practice your English in a way that feels personal and real. Remember, you are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not rude for saying no. You are not unkind for protecting your peace. You are human, learning, growing, and becoming more of who you truly are. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never stop honoring your voice.